Welcome to the newest edition of the Huddle House. So there's a few things different going on this week. One, Zoom was not working for me for some reason, so we're going with Skype. So I don't know if it's going to look any different on the YouTube videos end. I really have no idea, but we're going with something different because Zoom was being annoying. But the show must go on. We're rolling through adversity. Another adversity that happens on this Christmas Eve edition is Ty is with the family in Louisville, and he's very busy and couldn't be here tonight. And I was like, man, we might just have to not do a show this week. But I decided that you guys and the league's health needs a huddle house every week just to keep the spirits high. So I hit up the Clark brothers, and they both were available to join me. So welcome to the podium, James and Jake.
What's going on?
Hey, Merry Christmas.
Jake's in the Christmas spirit with the Santa hat on. I wish I could have thought of the same thing myself. But we're doing this on Christmas Eve at 9:48 p.m. So, this is definitely kind of scrambled together. But, it's the playoffs, and it's an important matchup for the both of you. So I wanted to do an episode to talk about it. So first off, let's talk to James. He's the one that had a matchup last week. What were your thoughts going into your matchup with Carter? What percentage chance do you think you actually had, and how surprised were you with what your team put up?
So going in, like I know, I watched Huddle House last week. I talked to a couple people, and my chances seemed kind of low. Everybody was like, "Oh, Carter's team's looking like the championship contender. Like easily could get on through, even past Brandon." And I was like, "All right, just waited along. Crazy things happen." I was like, if a couple guys on my team can figure things out, like Robinson back on track, Jeff Wilson finally having a game, if we can just get a decent performance out of most of my guys and a couple of his big producers kind of lay low for a week, like we might be able to pull this thing out. And I can't say I predicted a punch and an ejection and all that stuff from one of his players or anything like that. But I'm going to take what I can get, and I think anybody else will say the same. Like, hey, some luck is always involved, but plugging and playing guys has found a way to get victories for other teams throughout the season. Look at Brandon's team that I'm playing this week. He's been plugging a guy into that RB2 slot all year. We've gone from, he's got Devin Singletary now. He had Darrell Williams when Edwards-Helaire was out. He had Khalil Herbert. He's had plug-and-play guys. And so with McCaffrey gone, it's plugging and playing Jeff Wilson right now. It's plugging and playing some other receivers. Zach Ertz at flex sometimes. You never know. But I'm happy to be here.
Hey, put it this way. That ejection fired up the Colts. They were up 20-0. So, and they got the win. They hung on. Hey,
I care about that. It didn't fire up the Colts. The Colts started playing terrible after that happened. They just pulled it out.
They just held on, John.
You got to have some fight in you. And, at the end of the day, we quit throwing the ball once he left the game, which sucked. But, Jonathan Taylor just carried us to victory.
With one carry.
Yeah, he had like 8 points for me. Like,
hey, that's all it takes to win in fantasy.
Yeah, he had like 8 points. He was having his most like mid game in a while. Like, he was still running well, but it was just the fact the Patriots just had such a good run defense that it was just not the most of. He was doing fine, but it wasn't his best performance. And then he goes from 8 to 23 in one play. I was like, we'll take it.
All I know is from what I saw this week is that I think Mitri and Carter, and I could say even myself and Austin wouldn't have minded playing against the 1 and 2 seeds this week after watching their team's pitiful performances on the bye. I just hope that we can hope for the same another weekend.
Yeah, this was the week for you to play, James, honestly, because this past week, because none of the great players in fantasy this year played good at all. And all the guys that were completely irrelevant played great. So this week was bred for you to somehow get a win, and it worked out. This was the underdog's week.
As you can see from Marcus's polls, my odds haven't gotten any better as I move on.
Hey, you're the sleeper this year.
I will say, I did pick James to win.
Yeah,
and if James does win, no. Everybody conspired against me when they saw I voted for you. So they all decided to vote against you because they want to make it look like I'm the reason Ty missed the playoffs, because I'm not. He lost to Chris this year. So I'm not trying to be mean to Ty because I love Ty and like I love his team. But I'm just telling you, he lost to Chris. If he doesn't lose to Chris, like he's in the playoffs. So
They also
that's his
lost to
own
me
fault.
because Cole Beasley got stopped at the 1.
Yeah, Jake.
That's
But
true
what
too.
I know Dalvin played great that game, but like Ty only had like an 11-point margin on Najee Harris. Like it wasn't like Ty's team was like up by like 30. You claimed him a victor because he was up by 11 with 9 more players to play. Like that is nothing. That was so
Hey,
preemptive.
but wait, put it this way: Najee Harris is what, top 5 fantasy running back this year. So if your player outscores him, there's a good chance your team should win.
That's a one-on-one matchup. You got a whole team. All I gotta say is, I think it's convenient. You show up on the show and Ty's not here. I don't blame him.
Nah,
Jake threw in a little freebie there earlier in the week on the Tuesday night matchups when he said like claimed that I was gonna win because there was only like 2 minutes left in the game and they were not gonna throw the ball, but I was like, Jake's trying to get the league
Where
thinking
to
that it's
go?
not a jinx, he's just trying to get his name back in good standing.
no, no,
But if
no,
somehow
no,
a
no.
long Devonta touchdown had happened, I was buying airline tickets immediately to team up with Chris, and we were gonna go knock on his door and deal with some business. I would have been
So
so mad.
contrary, I got a text message from Lucas that said text Matt or text in the sleeper chat that Matt's gonna win. Just to see what happens. He's like right
Now you're
away,
just
just
throwing
do
other
it.
people under the bus.
I'm just saying, like
Well, I will say,
it
Jake,
was a smart
you
idea.
might not even be my biggest rival anymore because the group doesn't know about this, but me and Lucas text each other 24/7, just talking mad dirt. Like our matchup meant hardly anything this week, other than just other than just having the privilege of not having to pound Chris into the ground this week. That was pretty much all our matchup meant. But it was just more of a bragging rights thing. Like I wanted to beat him so bad. It was like a regular season matchup. I wanted to say I went 2-0 against him this year. And so it still meant a lot to me to pull it out. And so I was glad I
Hey,
could.
it's the little victories. You got to enjoy the little victories if you're not competing for the chip.
Exactly. Now I'm just going to fight for 7th place and claim myself first loser.
There you go.
Is it just me or did anybody see Jeremy's team? Like he's like tanking to get to the toilet bowl to play Chris, I think.
Yeah, Jeremy didn't start AJ Brown yesterday, and that was I was talking to James about it. I was like, that's tough. I mean, I'm not saying there wasn't any rational reasoning behind it because I mean, obviously it's his first game back from an injury, and Jeremy has a good receiving core. Like I get it, but at the same time, like it's AJ Brown. Like I think you have to just roll the dice and hope he throws out one of those monumental performances.
So you're saying you wouldn't play Nico Collins over AJ Brown?
Heck no. No, I'm giving AJ Brown a shot. Like it's the Houston Texans. I wouldn't be starting Rex Burkhead if I didn't absolutely have to. I don't want anything to do with that team.
Oh man, yeah, it's getting rough out there with all this COVID stuff for these teams. Fantasy players dropping left and right.
It is tough. It's really tough.
I will say that's gonna be my toughest challenge, I think, this week is if no Eckler, like who am I gonna get consistent production from? I mean, the plus side is Chris Godwin out for the year, Mike Evans out, so Antonio Brown is back. But I don't know. I feel like Austin's got the healthier team right now, and like I will say, like, this is my biggest test of the season.
This team's
Austin's
hot.
team has been balling out. Like, I mean, he's been the one guy that hasn't really had a bad performance in like 4 weeks. I think everyone else has laid out a stinker at some point, but his team has just been on a roll. Like, he's just had some guys just kind of peak at the right time. Like, I mean, Herbert's playing his best ball of the season. I mean, he's been good all year, but he's been exceptionally good recently. AJ Dillon's been productive, getting touchdowns in the red zone, things like that. Yeah, he's just been Najee's been amazing. Keenan
Mark
Allen
Andrews.
lots of tap. Yeah, Mark Andrews. I didn't even mention him. Mark Andrews has been on a tear. So I mean, if I were you, Jake, I'd be the player I'm most scared of because I mean, playoffs berth on the line. Ravens, Bengals, division rival. Tyler Huntley seeming to only see Mark Andrews at least the past couple games. Like, dude might go for another 25.
I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that.
No, I would see, and I was talking to James about this earlier, but I told him I would definitely be all aboard getting the brother v brother championship because, I mean, first of all, I did beat James in the regular season, but the issue is Austin and I's game, I think, from the regular season was actually fairly close. So, again, I had to get through this week to even think about that. But I like James's chances as much as everybody's hating him. I like his chances because, look, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon all had down weeks last week. Doesn't mean it
But
can't
the odds
happen
that they
again.
do it again, very low.
I mean, just got to count on Tyler Boyd, man.
Oh,
Well,
I feel better.
there is a downside to be said about having like that many players on one team. Like, I mean, if that team has an amazing offensive week, then all three can be great. But if it's like Burrow tearing up the Ravens secondary, which is completely depleted, then he might get good performances out of Chase and Higgins, but he might have a down week from Mixon. If it's like not really a running attack type of game plan, or vice versa. If they're running all over our pathetic defensive line that's all banged up, then they might not throw it as much. So like whenever you kind of have different sides of the ball all on your team, you're kind of having to sacrifice one for the other sometimes. So it's possible one of those three has a bad week.
I'd appreciate if it was at least two. At least two. Because when we were sitting here talking about Austin's team and the way they were trending coming into the playoffs and stuff and how they've even gone in that first round, I feel like my team was trending the complete opposite. I had a 3-game losing streak. I think one of the weeks I put up like 79 points or something like that. It was not looking good.
Oh,
James
you got
Robinson was
blown
getting
out.
nothing. I know
You
I
got
got blown
blown
out.
out.
I said I was gonna lose. I said I was gonna lose out the season at the way it was going. If Robinson wasn't getting carries and all my guys being hurt, like Hopkins out, I'm out here trying to plug guys in, fill in those spots, and any way you can manufacture some points. So wherever I can get them, picked up Tyler Johnson this week, picked up Tyler Huntley. Who knows who's gonna play exactly, but hopefully guys in good matchups that can get some kind of points. It's all about opportunity.
Yeah, we might get another one of those stinker weeks. You never know with this NFL season. It's made literally no sense. It makes no sense. I mean, if you would have told me last week that Travis Kelce alone could have outscored a lineup of, I think I'm trying to remember what this was. I saw it yesterday, like a couple days ago. I forget who the quarterback was, but it was like Alvin Kamara, Najee Harris. I think like I don't know. There were other
Tom
players
Brady.
involved. Yeah, Tom Brady. Yeah, there were others too. Like it said, like that combined would have been like 38 points, and Travis Kelce got like 38. It was like you would have
All by
lost.
yourself.
It was like a stacked lineup too, but it made no sense.
Yeah, it was a crazy week. I can't imagine this week's any crazier. But who knows with certain guys missing and who like you never know who's going to step up team by team.
Well, Duke Johnson was the RB1 last week. That was the Duke Johnson Jake was trying to trade me for last season, begging me for Duke Johnson. He would have had to have given me a lot more to get last week's Duke Johnson. Let's put it that way.
He paid off
Hey, wait.
finally.
I don't remember begging you for Duke Johnson because I do remember trading for David Johnson last year.
You did, and that actually, well, I wouldn't say it worked out well for either of us, but you probably theoretically won it considering I got Julian Edelman and Debo, who
He's
didn't play at all.
yeah, and then see what I'm saying? Like if I had the Debo this year, last year, like he would have been completely different. I wouldn't have probably traded him.
Yeah,
Boo
I
hoo
was
first
talking
place.
to
Boo hoo.
I was talking to Marcus about this, and then I mentioned it to Carter. I was like, man, if my redraft team from last year was my dynasty team, I might have gone undefeated. My lineup at the end of last season was Tom Brady, Jonathan Taylor, Antonio Gibson, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, and DJ Moore. Like I was like crazy stacked. It was just unfortunately I couldn't keep that team because I did the same thing 2 years in a row. I peaked like at the very end of the season, but it was just too little too late because I was just in the pooper through like 8 weeks. And then my team just started balling.
That's the one thing I said. Even the past 2 seasons in the league or whatever, going into the playoffs, like my team started off each season really good, and I made a couple moves and stuff, had a good record, and then the end of the season, I would lose like my last 2 games or so, and I'd end up being the 4 seed. Like I was the 4 seed the past 2 years in that one, and then still made the championship either way. The one year I lost to Lucas, the other year I beat him, but I was like, this is kind of the way things seem to trend for me. I was like, I barely keep myself in the playoffs. Like I win enough early on so that I can make it in, and then you just get to work. Once it's important weeks, you get to work.
Yeah, you guys always just pull stuff out of nowhere. Like they suck for several weeks straight, and then at playoff time, they're like, we gotta come through. It's It's frustrating for the rest of us guys to see that whenever our guys decide to suck when it matters most. But it's just the luck of the draw, I guess. I mean, but I'm excited. I'm excited for next year. I'm looking to the draft. I kind of, in a way, have to hope you beat Brandon because then I'm looking at pick 11 or 12 out of him instead of 13 or 14. And I already got kind of lucky with Carter. I'm either going to get 9 or 10 out of him. And so things so far have been looking decent for me. If you can make a run, you can improve my draft stock.
It only makes my pick for this year worse the more I win. And that's going to Caleb. But hey, I don't have any first round picks until 2024, so I got some seconds and thirds though. Counting on people to lose. In that toilet bowl. Oh no, not in the toilet bowl. They already finished. I forgot. That's how that goes. So my picks are locked in where they were at. But
it's fun having a decent, like pretty respectable roster at the end of the season and knowing you have 2 first round picks. Like there's some solace in that. It's like, all right, I can get some depth here. I can bolster my bench because I've gotten most efficient manager on the weekly report so many times just because my bench will get like 1 combined point. Like it's nothing but handcuffs who like don't see the field and they're only relevant if like someone gets hurt. And so there's literally no production from them. So it's just like I need to get some. It'll be a little better once Michael Thomas is around next year. I probably won't start him, but he'll at least be there and get some points maybe. And then if I draft a couple guys, I might not start them as rookies unless they're amazing. And if that's the case, then they'll be there on my bench to get some points too. So it'll be nice to get some needed depth on the roster because it's pretty scarce.
Yeah, talk to Grandpa's roster over there.
Hey,
you got Javante, and that's it. And DK, I guess. No, who even wants DK right now?
Hey, get DK a new quarterback, and we might be in business, dude. Think about
Who's going to Seattle? Who's going to Seattle?
I don't know, man.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Aaron Rodgers could be ending up out there. Who knows?
No.
There's no way he's going to Seattle, bro. He's going to either Green Bay, staying there, or he's going to Pittsburgh or Denver.
Denver, maybe. Yeah, those 2 places make a lot more sense to me.
Seattle might be in the market for maybe like Derek Carr.
Wait. Let's just remind everyone about the mention this week. Directly a target taken at Marcus's team from James about the future quarterbacks, even though it's irrelevant because Lamar Jackson's Marcus's starting quarterback, so it's very irrelevant. But the quarterback situation of who you'd rather have going forward between Daniel Jones and Zach Wilson.
I appreciate you deflecting
that. It's just debating the lesser of 2 dumpsters. I don't like either of them. I really don't. I didn't like Zach Wilson coming out of the draft, to be honest. I was like, he's got an arm. I mean, I knew that. He has nice highlights, but he gave off too much of that, like, pretty boy vibe. It's just going to be, like, come in with some swagger, and then he's going to get hit really hard, and he's not going to know how to freaking react. Like that Ivy League type guy. Like, that sometimes works in the NFL, but not very often. I was just like, I just don't know if he fits the Jets culture or anything like that. I just think
you mean losing?
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, they suck, but they've always at least been somewhat scrappy for a terrible team, and it just doesn't fit that vibe. And so I was like, I just don't know about it. Like, didn't feel like a good fit. Didn't feel like that great of a player to me. So I'm not super high on him, but I can understand taking him over Jones just because there's a little bit less. There's more unknowns with Wilson where there could be ceiling, whereas Jones is a little bit more set in stone what he is.
Yeah, that was my point the whole time. It's just you have more possible upside, even though it might not even be there. He could be worse. No idea. So you still have a couple years to figure it out on his contract compared to Daniel Jones and where he's at. I think Ty would agree that what hurt Zach Wilson is the fact he hasn't been able to play with Corey Davis the past few weeks to help his development.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's funny about it is even with Zach Wilson being horrible, Elijah Moore has found a way to still just be a gem. Like, Corey Davis has been nothing. Jamison Crowder has pretty much been nothing. But Elijah Moore's still over there getting 15, 20 a game nonetheless.
Yeah. Talent wins out.
Well, Chris got really mad at me when I said Mike White instead between the two guys, because he's like, that wasn't the question. But you know what? Mike White was awesome when he played. That's all I got to say.
One game.
And
One
Corey
game.
Davis, if he would have played with Mike White, hey, no, well, even the Colts game, when they played the Colts before he got hurt, he threw a touchdown on the play he got hurt. Like, man just was finding a way to put up points.
You're out here saying that man's name when you know Ty's going to watch this. It's like saying Voldemort's name. How dare you? The guy that beats his team. It's just embarrassing.
I want to throw out a quick apology to Trakener. I feel like I've been kind of mean to him on the show the past couple of weeks. I threw a little dig at him tonight. I love the guy. I love interacting with him over text in the chat. He's become a friend of mine, and I actually hope he crushes Lucas because Lucas is one of my bitter rivals. So I'm really rooting for the Bortles squad. Bortles just got signed. There's a future for Bortles maybe. So maybe there's a future for Chris. Let's
not
just
impossible.
Let's
not
just
impossible.
let's just dream and hope that Chris's team just really pulls it together this week and forces Lucas to face the potential of an engravement payment. And so I'm really rooting for you, Chris. I don't want to come off as an enemy. I actually want to bury the hatchet and make peace. I apologize for my digs. There we go.
Hey, well, the good news is no one's paying for shipping because the Florida boys are all that's left.
That's true.
But I was saying, Chris's team, it's not impossible now. He's locked into now Sony Michel having a role on the Rams. Ronald Jones now is going to be starting for the Buccaneers. Like, he's got some startable guys. They could sneak up in a week like this.
Ronald Jones.
He did start Julio yesterday.
Vaughn.
Julio's a guaranteed 1.5 at this point. He's kind of like he's a poor man's Cortland Sutton, and that's just the ultimate disrespect I could ever give him because Cortland Sutton's been that bad. But I would say Julio might be a poor man's Cortland Sutton because at least Julio, at least Cortland can sometimes stay on the field, and Julio's been god awful and can't stay healthy. So we'll call him a poor man's
over there.
Sutton.
Hey, you didn't address Cortland Sutton by his proper name that Marcus has given him.
Yeah, my bad. Dick's not. There we go.
There you go. It's difficult. It's difficult to decide if you're starting Julio over guys like Khalif Raymond, James Washington, and Zacchaeus. Like it's not great over there on the bench to make other options.
There were mock drafts. These were just mocks, but there were mock drafts with Ty where I actually drafted Julio in like the 4th round, like Chris did, and I just go to sleep at night just so thankful that I did not go with that strategy in the actual draft.
Well, see, I was actually looking at my roster. So I was looking at my roster the other day, and I was trying to look at it like in depth, like compared from the start of the season till now. And I was looking at it. I counted. I think it was either 6 or 7 guys are still on my team from that initial roster. I was like, so we changed a lot.
Yeah, that's how my team
we did not hold on.
That's how my team is too. Like it's like Jonathan Taylor, and that's basically the list of returning players on my team. Everyone else is brand new. Well, the Rams defense and Matt Gay. There we go. Got some special teams and defense that are still around.
Most important pieces.
Yeah, honestly, if you're Carter, Nick Folk averaging like 15 points a game. I saw or 12 or something like that. I sent him a message. I was like, Nick Folk's averaging more points a game this season than Darren Waller. Like, who would have known? They're more important than
Carter. Screw that guy. He deserved to lose to James. Just saying.
Well, that's a bit harsh. Creating more enemies, I see.
Well, he's hated on me all year. So
I think that's everybody.
but don't get me wrong. Carter's team, pretty phenomenal. But the fact that he found a way to lose to you, James, I don't know how he did it.
He might have won if he had Derek Carr. Very important player that was important enough.
Or James Robinson. If he would have had James Robinson
would have really helped his team out.
Yeah.
I will give him that.
Hey, he ended up with Stafford, who didn't really do anything against you either. So I think it all didn't work out for him. So some ammunition to use against him in the chat if he ever comes at you. He has an amazing team. I actually like his future and stuff, but he's definitely made some mistakes. Then again, I think we all have. This is
things look a lot different at this point of the season from like that James Robinson trade was like week 3 and nobody would have known.
Jake could have used some of that fab on Tyler Huntley or Tyler Johnson, but he spent it all on PJ Walker.
Hey, I had no clue that $1 would get me Tyler Johnson.
Yeah. $30 on PJ Walker, 2 second-rounders on a free agent Philip Lindsay that's out there. You know,
there's been some mistakes. You know, I traded Melvin Gordon and AJ Green for an Odell. Oh, well, an Odell who actually has been playing pretty good ever since I traded.
Well, hey, Jake's lucky he got to hold on to him because he was. I'm telling you, when we were talking the one day when he was freaking out about Odell before he settled on holding him, he was about this close to taking a deal for like a third and Tyrod for him. He was real close.
Well, I remember trying to trade him.
I was trying to ask for more.
I tried trading him to like Chris and some other teams for like early to mid seconds, and no one was remotely interested. They were like, "Well, I'll give you a third," and I was like, "I'm not going to trade Odell for a third." Like, I feel like he's worth a little more than that, you know. And so I just held on to him. I mean, I don't regret trading for Gus necessarily, but it does seem kind of unfortunate that Odell decides to start playing decent football the moment I trade him.
Well, the moment he gets an actual good quarterback is the thing.
Well, I will. Yeah, sure. But I mean, I enjoy having him because he's a plug and play guy right now for me. Like with this COVID, like getting Gallup, who's 5 targets a game, and then Odell right now. Besides the last game, I mean, I'm actually comfortable. Like again, I don't want Eckler out, but if Eckler's out, like it gives me at least options to mess with. So.
Yeah. Hey, Jake, I think your screen might be frozen.
You're a little frozen to me.
Maybe try turning your video camera off and turning it back on or something. I don't know what's going on. You're frozen.
Can you still hear me though?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
But you're. Let's see if this fixes it.
I just turned it back on, but it's slow.
I'm just seeing nothing but a white ball. Forgive us for the technical difficulties. We're dealing with Skype, you know. Jake, if you have to exit the meeting and rejoin, we'll let you back in. It's up to you. If you can't figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, if y'all can still hear me, I mean, it's okay if I'm disappeared, I guess. But
all right, well, Christmas is ruined. We don't see Jake's hat anymore. It's a Santa hat. Definitely dampens the spirits a little bit, but we'll still hear from him. He's still here, so we'll keep it going.
So I'm curious, Matt, if you take a look at both of these matchups, I understand you also voted in both of those polls, but give your explanation on which teams you think, even because I mean obviously one game has happened, nothing insane to swing things one way or another, but what are your takes on the two matchups that matter?
Well, Jake's didn't change at all because I mean neither of them had any players from last night, so I mean that's still purely speculation. From what I saw from you, I mean Jeff Wilson actually played pretty solid. I mean I was thinking he was going to do even better after he got a touchdown like immediately. I was like, man, this is a great start, and then I think he got 5 or 6 more points the rest of the game, but it was
they decided to stop running even though they were ahead.
Yeah, I was confident that he might be at that pace, getting one that early. I thought he might be on pace for 15 to 20 range, but he settled down a little bit. Still a pretty solid matchup for a guy that you're just been streaming recently, you know. So I mean, we'll take it, you know. And then on the other end, who'd you play against? I'm trying to remember.
Robbie Gould.
Yeah, and he only got 5?
6.
Or 6? Yeah, I mean that's a pretty underperforming performance from him actually as a kicker. That's not that great. So I mean the projections now are locked up, and I know projections are wrong a lot, but right now you're projected to win by 0.7 or something like that. It's super close. So I mean it's a total toss up. It's just let me look at the matchups really quick so I can kind of break it down and give my expert analysis. I know that James or that Brandon's team is like you said, 7 of his 10 players are from 2 teams. So if you get stinkers out of those 2 teams, you should win fairly easy.
Yeah, I'm a big Patriots and Ravens fan, and I've never cheered for the Patriots in my life. Can't stand them, but I really need them to pull through this week like they did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and they have a great pass defense. So, I mean, that bodes well for, well, I wouldn't say well for Devin Singletary. It's Devin Singletary at the end of the day. But I mean, he had a good week last week, and the Bills actually started running more. and the Patriots' run defense is more attackable than their pass defense. So you might get a mediocre performance out of Diggs, possibly. Singletary might get around like 10, but I don't expect him to go crazy. Allen, I think, might actually have a mediocre game. Like, I think 15 to 20 is realistic, but I don't see him going for 20 plus necessarily. It's just a good defense, and they've kind of had his number a little bit in the past. So I think Jamar Chase goes off. I hate to say it for you, but
somebody's going to.
I think he gets 20, like around 20. Knox is a tight end. Tight ends, it's hard to really project boom weeks for him that often unless it's like one of the elite ones. So
you're hoping for a touchdown.
Give him his 4 to 6 range most likely, but unless he gets a touchdown, he's probably not doing much. So I mean, yeah, I mean, and he even has Myers who's playing against the Bills. So even though it's not a Bills player, like it's still in that same matchup. So I mean, his team is literally all 8 of his non-defense and special teams players are in the same 2 games, which is unprecedented.
He's done at 1:00 on Sunday. Everybody plays.
Yeah, so I mean, and I'm looking at your team, and I know that this doesn't always make a difference, but if you're just looking at like the color coded just based on matchups and like how good those teams normally do at like that phase of the game or whatever, like you have nothing but greens, So I mean, like I said, I know that doesn't always make a difference, but I mean, you have some horrible matchups. Like, I don't know if Heineke's going to be good to go. Like I'm assuming he will be since it was just COVID, but Terry could have a good game against a division rival, Cowboys potentially. I know Diggs gets a lot of picks, but you can also beat him in coverage quite a bit.
Yeah,
he is such an aggressive corner that whenever he bites on one of those routes and it doesn't work out, you can very well beat him on some deep routes and stuff like that. So Lockett, Chicago, like could potentially be a good week. I love James Robinson against the Jets. Like I think your interim coach is kind of playing it safe and doesn't want to do anything too stupid, so he's just going to feed.
Actually, using his best offensive weapon.
Yeah, so I think Robinson is poised for a really great week. I don't know about Huntley. I mean, there's only 2 games of track record on him, but I mean, he looked great last week, and it is an important game for us, so he could do well. So I don't know. It's a toss up. Like it's a total toss up. But I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna switch my pickup. I'm gonna Jake. Like I said,
join the dark side.
Jeff Wilson doing well kind of turned the tides for me, and it's gonna be close. But I just don't like him having every single player in the same 2 games because it's just like I just feel like you're poised for a couple of those guys to not do well when the other ones do well. So like. Diggs doing well takes away from Knox. Knox doing well takes away from Diggs. Them both doing well takes away from Singletary. It's just the same thing. So, I mean, I just don't like him being that top-loaded on those same 2 matchups.
That's like with my own team personally, the guys that I'm most concerned about is like Darrell Henderson losing work, coming back. Like I know he might just be getting gradually worked in, but it's clearly a committee now with Stoney since he played well. So you never know how much work Henderson's going to get. So even though he's got a good matchup, he might only get 10 touches and like last week, I think he had 3.7 points because, I mean, he had like 5 carries and 3 catches. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And then McLaurin, like last time he played Dallas, it's a decent matchup. He played like a quarter and a half, had 0 points, and then went out with his injury.
Yeah.
So he's really, like, as much as I love him long term and stuff, with the quarterback situation there, it's always a mystery with him. And then, like I said to you earlier, like, I'm really going back and forth at that quarterback one because Huntley, he can run. He looked good last week. Cincinnati's not a dominant defense, so it's not someone that's going to shut him down necessarily. But Kirk has got me here. He's still a top 10 quarterback this season, and I get he's had a couple bad games in a row. But like I was also telling you earlier, I'm fully bought into that primetime Kirk Cousins can't do anything. He's out of prime time. He's playing a 1:00 game, so he might have a good game again.
Yeah, the 1:00 non-televised red zone game. That is Kirk Cousins probably super excited in the locker room. Like, all right, I'm poised for a big game today.
This is it, boys.
My time to shine. As soon as you get some cameras on me, I suck. But yeah, I mean that's gonna be a tough start for you. I don't know which guy I prefer. I mean, I know Kirk's great in that slot. but they've also been really good with Madison whenever he's in the starter, and they've given him a lot of work. And I know anytime like running quarterbacks, I always have a safer floor. Like the reason I've started Fields over Tannehill almost every week is Fields hasn't even been playing good, but because he gets like 50 to 100 yards rushing every game, like his floor is so solid. Like he got me 16 like his last game that was a televised game at prime time, and he was awful. Like he did not have a good game. He had one touchdown. Like I think he barely cracked 200 yards, had a fumble, but like he still got like 16. And then the week before that, he got 20 and had like 3 turnovers. So like there's just something to be said about quarterbacks that can sometimes run is like they have a better floor because even if they don't have an incredible passing game, if Huntley gets you 60, 70 rushing yards, like that's a guaranteed 6 or 7 points.
And then if they add a rushing touchdown somehow.
Yeah, that's 2 more points for the touchdown. So I mean,
like look at Cam on Jake's bench. Cam has been dreadful out there. Like besides the little tiny flash he had in his first game, like he's been dreadful, and the man is putting up double-digit points on his bench just because he's running a couple touchdowns here and there.
Yeah, dude. The fact that Tom Brady put up such a stinker and the Bucs put up 0 points last week, and Cam over here, like, not winning games at all, but he put up like 20. He's put up like 20 points twice, I think, since he's been on my bench, and it's because of all the rushing TDs.
So you're gonna start Cam over Brady this week?
Heck no.
He's down his top 2
weapons. You can't justify doing that.
Heck no. I can't do that. Sam Darnold's back too, so he's supposed to get playing time. Like
I saw that. Matt Rule says Cam Newton starting the game and playing. Sam Darnold will eventually get in. What is that? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Who does a 2 quarterback system in the pros?
I wouldn't even start Sam Darnold over PJ Walker. I'm just being honest. Like, I'm not saying Walker's a stud, but like in the times he's played, he's looked better than Darnold did. Like,
well, the only time Darnold was good was when McCaffrey was on the field. And then as far as I know, McCaffrey's not getting back on the field this season. I'm pretty certain he's on my team, that he's not going to be out there for Sam Darnold to be his savior.
Yeah, I mean, you got to start the guys that got you there. I mean, unless you're dealing with a running backup quarterback like Huntley, who has an intriguing matchup where there's a lot of stake. And I mean, he's a young quarterback that hasn't had a ton of shine and a ton of moments, so that could be a good thing where he comes out with something to prove, or it could be a bad thing where the lights and cameras and stuff are too big for him, and he buckles under the pressure. It's just hard to say, but I don't know. I'd almost be intrigued to start Huntley.
Yeah, and that's my thing is like he's similar to, they don't have to change play calling too much because he's a similar player type as Lamar, with being able to use his legs the way he does and throw as well as he's able to. So it's not that crazy. But then again, like defenses going up against them, they have 2 weeks of film on him because I was listening to the stuff about him, like he wasn't invited to the combine when he came into the league. He didn't get drafted by anybody. Like nobody has film on this guy actually playing in quarterback in the NFL except for these 2 weeks that he played. And it's not like that first week he was amazing. So you have 1 week of him being successful to watch to try to design a defense around.
I know. And like, I mean, I'm not going to act like I'm like the biggest believer ever in the guy. Like I've only seen him play like twice, but I will say, like, I was following him in the preseason whenever like Lamar wasn't playing, it was all him. And like he was going nuts in the preseason. I know it's against second stringers and all, but I was like, it's like this guy's our backup. Like this guy's got some promise. Like he threw like 5 touchdowns and like 350 yards against one of the teams, and I was like, this dude, he might be a pretty good backup. And then like last week, tough matchup, throws for 4 TDs, or doesn't throw for 4 TDs. He has 4 total TDs, and I'm like, this guy is actually not that bad. Like, I mean, I know it's one game, but I mean,
he did something Lamar had never done.
So that was impressive.
I know, like he looked pretty good out there. He throws actually a pretty nice ball. Like he's not a bad backup, and I think if he keeps showing it and proving himself, like these games that he's filling in, like he might get some looks from other teams that need a quarterback to maybe just fill a hole. Like he's pretty solid.
All right, so to get us back on track and away from Tyler Huntley Love Fest, since we all seem to be on board.
As far as Jake's matchup, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm like one of the few guys that actually voted for Jake. Well, no, I think that was like 4 to 5.
I did not.
I'm surprised you voted for me, Matt. As much as you've had beef with me all season long, I figured you'd pick against me and want to see me lose.
Well, the pick wasn't who I wanted to win. The
Non-biased.
pick was who I thought would win. I was trying to be objective. I know Austin's team has been great. He's got to fizzle out at some point. Jake's team has been more consistent. It's going to be close. Austin's team could boom. Like, I'm not saying it's not possible, but I still think I like Jake's roster more. Now, if Eckler's out, it does get interesting, and then I'd be almost inclined to maybe pick Austin. But if Eckler's able to play, I'll stick with Jake. I
Yeah,
just
this is
think he's gonna
one
play out.
I think it comes down to, because there's certain guys that kind of determine what happens each week in a matchup. I think this one really does come down to like how the stars perform. So like Jake has Brady, Javonte, DK, like those three have to do something to push his team over the top, because trying to rely on Melvin Gordon, Mike Williams, Michael Gallup, like those guys are not the guys you can rely on to carry you through a playoff matchup. Meanwhile, on Austin's team, he's got Herbert, Najee, Keenan Allen, Mark Andrews. Those four, like three of the four, have to do something for him to be able to push through. I don't see any scenario like, I get it. Some of the other guys can make it through. Like for me, Jeff Wilson made a big difference last week. Someone like that can make a big difference, but you got to have still your old reliable guys step up in this kind of matchup.
Yeah, Binky Boy's gotta get more than 2 catches. Like, he's gotta show you something. Yeah, I mean, you got Justin Jefferson looming 2 picks behind you or whatever in the startup draft, and I know that it kicks at
Picking
you.
yourself.
DK has to show you a reason of why he went pick 9 or whatever. Like, he's got to give you some reason.
I ain't seen it.
Even talking to Marcus. Marcus had DK ahead of Justin Jefferson as well. So
I did not.
both of us thought that, and Marcus is sure glad that I picked DK and he was able to get Justin Jefferson.
Marcus would have. I don't care where Marcus had DK ranked. He would have picked Justin Jefferson over DK in a heartbeat. There ain't no way. Ain't no way.
Sometimes I wonder who likes their star more, me with JT or Marcus with Justin Jefferson, because in my like Instagram group chat with some of my college friends or whatever, every time JJ gets a touchdown, like Marcus will send a stock message in the chat like, let's all say it together, boys. Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the NFL. And he'll just say it every single time Justin Jefferson gets a touchdown. And I mean, man, he loves them.
I think my favorite thing was the post when he matched up against Lucas and he lost both matchups to Lucas. I can't even get it out right now. I'm laughing.
The picture of Lucas on the couch.
Poor guy. Poor guy.
The group chat has been pretty fun this year. I will say that.
It's been lively. I'm interested to see what it looks like in the off season. Because I mean, I don't know if everybody remembers, but it's going to be interesting to see. So like after the championship weekend, like that Monday that the last game's finished, the waivers and stuff all locked. So you're stuck with like the roster you have up until that draft time, but you can still trade. Like trades immediately open up, so you'll be able to make some kind of deals. Like if people want to trade picks again or trade players and make decisions on that, like that'll be open during the off season. And then the draft will be sometime after, obviously, the actual draft happens. But yeah, waivers don't open up till after that.
I'm going to be interested to see like what trades go down before the draft, because I bet there's going to be at least 1 or 2 draft picks potentially moved around. I think it's very possible. Definitely think there's going to be some decent players moved too. Some buy low, sell highs, things like that. So I'll be interested to see. I know that everyone that loved to trade is probably itching to kind of do it again, and because we haven't been able to the past like 5 weeks or whatever. Me being one of them, and I've already been calculating some ideas in my head, and I haven't messaged anyone about them because there's no ability to make the trade right now. But I have some ideas, and so we'll see. I might be one of the guys that's looking around, seeing what's out there. I think other guys will probably be doing the same.
Yeah,
they're all going to be asking for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, that won't be available.
No one's going to even try, and if they do, I might just pull a Caleb and just not even respond.
Never even open it.
Hey, Tony Pollard, man, he's doing some Tony Pollard loving. Caleb is.
Yeah.
That's not quite the fair deal.
I was surprised to see him put a message in the group chat, like just out of the blue.
He's got to show at least proof of life every now and then.
Hey, Jake, you can get your boy Jonathan Taylor from me for Javonte Williams, DK Metcalf, 2 firsts, and I might want Mike Williams as well. If you could also throw in Gallup, I think I might take it.
Maybe.
I don't even have 2 first. Well, I have my first round this year.
Eventually.
And my 2024.
Just verbally agree to the next 5 years picks.
Yeah, we have it in contract. Get a marking on your arm or something in blood of that you owe me those picks.
You just swap it for a third each time.
All right, well, we're at 45 minutes. This is already a much longer episode than usual. And one cool thing about Skype is we actually could go forever, but I don't want to burden the rest of the league with having to listen to us talk for that long. So I see the trophy. That's going to be in my possession next year. I'm very excited.
Couple weeks away.
Well, somebody's got to take it from James's hands. So
I'm still here.
It'll be one of the 3 of the rest of us. Yeah, well, we don't want you to win. We want any of the rest of us to win.
I want you to win this week and then lose to whoever's on the other side of the bracket, unless it's Jake. No, okay, yeah. Then I might actually be rooting for you. I'm rooting for Austin to win the whole thing. Just because he's the only one I don't have any qualms with. I mean, I don't have any qualms with Brandon, but I'd need his pick to be better. So
yeah.
Sorry, James, but I'll root for you over Jake, and that's about it.
All right, I understand. I get it.
But we gotta wrap this up, boys. We got to wrap this up. Hope you guys enjoy this episode. We wanted to get it out for you. We missed Ty, but I'm sure he'll listen and let us know his feedback on how we did without him. But I know his voice is always much welcomed in the group. But thanks, guys, for being on. And best of luck to you this week in the playoffs, including you, Jake. I hope your team actually puts up a decent week. And if you lose, I'm not going to hate it. But if you win, then you earned it. So we'll see what happens.
I just want to be competitive. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Hope it goes well for everybody. We'll see y'all later.
See ya.